Welcome to the Jewish Diaspora Report. This is the host, Mike Jordan, and we are going to start our first session of This Week in Diaspora History. Let's get started. On the 3rd of Shevat in Egypt, 1012, the Caliph of Egypt Al-Hakim, who ruled from 996 to 1020, allowed both Jews and Christians to live with a unique status during his first 10 years as leader. After Al-Hakim vigorously applied anti-Jewish laws, like forcing Jews to wear bells around their necks and eventually burning down the Jewish quarter, during a funeral, an Egyptian mob attacked the Jewish funeral guests and imprisoned 23 sentenced to death. Germany, 1933, 3rd of Shevat. Hitler becomes chancellor. After a rise from nowhere, Hitler uses the issue of the Great Depression to gain and hold power in the Reichstag, or the German government. 2 hours after Chancellor Paul von Hindenburg's death, it was announced as a result of the law that Hitler himself created that he would become Germany's head of state and head of government, thereby eliminating the last remedy by which he could be legally dismissed and cementing his status as the absolute dictator in Germany. 5th of Shevat, 1740. Jews of Sicily and Naples invited to return by Charles de Bourbon. The history of Jews in Sicily goes back to at least the Second Temple period, when a large number of Jewish slaves are believed to have been brought to the island from Jerusalem after its conquest by Pompey in 63 BCE. During the 14th century and the first half of the 15th century, Sicily had been basically an independent kingdom, although linked by family ties to the Kingdom of Aragon. When Ferdinand and Isabella joined Aragon and Castile into a united kingdom in 1479, Sicily came under direct Spanish rule. In 1492, Spanish Inquisition and expulsion of Jews took place. Many fled for their lives to North Africa and Europe. On this day in 1740, French military leader Charles de Bourbon, the King of Naples, issued an official invitation to the Jews to return to Sicily. Few responded favorably to the offer, and most who did not remain. 6th of Shevat, 1393. Jews of Majorca, Spain, guaranteed protection. At the beginning of 1392, the authorities took steps to normalize the earlier anti-Semitic relations and pogroms. The populace was ordered to hand back plundered property. Surviving Jews in forced converts were required to provide within 10 days a written list of any debts owed to them. Fearing that the island's peasants might rebel, the crown granted amnesty to the rioters and canceled debts to Jews contracted over the previous 10 years. In January 1393, the governor prohibited further assaults on Jews. Anyone assaulting them would be hanged if he were a lower class person and flogged if they belonged to the nobility. In an attempt to re-establish the Jewish communities of the island, the authorities invited 150 families from Portugal to settle there in 1394. They arrived in 1395. At the same time, the crown granted a writ of protection and exemption from special taxes to all the Jews who fled from North Africa and other places and wished to return to Majorca. The resettlement was doomed to fail. 20 years later, this community was again destroyed. This has been This Week in Diaspora History on the Jewish Diaspora Report. Don't forget to check us out on social media at jdr.podcast on Instagram. We'll see you next time.